Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss, making decisions my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry Street Podcast. Welcome to the house of and shout out to the members.
Oh my God. Immediate trigger warning. Some of y'all, by the time y'all get to the end of this video, y'all gonna want Diddy off the earth. Did y'all see this yet? Yo, you have to watch this whole thing. Y'all have to get to like at least the 33-minute mark. Y'all have to watch from when I start this video all the way to at least like 33 minutes in. And the whole time is gonna get dark. For Diddy and oh my God, y'all are in trouble for real, for real. The indictment, the Fed case, the raids, the accusations, we already knew it was heavy. But the 120 alleged victims that this Texas lawyer is representing, the story, he's going to talk about the stories behind it. And there's minors involved. Trigger warning. I ain't gonna hold y'all up. Trigger warning.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Busby. I'm a lawyer here in Houston. I'm licensed in Texas and in New York. And I'll introduce other members of our team as they speak. As many of you know, our law firm has been at the forefront of some of the most important litigation in the United States. We like the tough cases. We thrive in the complicated cases. We've handled over the last 25 years some very big and very important cases. I believe that this one may surpass them all. There are many facets to this. The conduct we will describe today occurred over more than 20 years. There are many people and many entities involved. And we're going to follow this evidence wherever it takes us. We will find the silent accomplices. We will expose the enablers who enabled this conduct behind closed doors. We will pursue this matter no matter who the evidence implicates. These brave victims who have stepped forward deserve nothing less. The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward. Our team has had at this point more than 3,285 individuals contact us with people claiming to have been victimized by Sean Combs. After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
Not just Diddy. Wow. 120 people coming for a lot of people, not just Diddy. To the extent
the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, we had received a small volume of calls and had screened a handful of cases. After the indictment of Sean Combs and the announcement that we were pursuing these claims, the floodgates opened. People who wouldn't otherwise, for a variety of reasons, are now stepping forward to make their voices heard and to pursue justice. But no, most of these people are scared. They fear backlash in their communities. They fear backlash in their own families. They are afraid of retaliation from the perpetrators and their associates. They are rightly afraid for their own personal safety. I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. And as is always the case in situations like this, when a celebrity is involved, people can be downright mean and nasty. You would be shocked at the length fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted. I want to say this, and I want to be clear about it. Although we are vetting each call as stringently as we can, I always start with a mindset that I believe victims. I believe victims because I understand the tremendous courage it takes to step forward. So if you're watching this, please hear me. If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you. That being said, as stated, we are vetting every call that we receive. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues, we check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet each claim. We're using our common sense. We're being stringent because, as I said, these are not easy cases. They're very tough. The process is hard, and in some cases, the process is very lengthy. These cases are hard to prove. Many times, it's the victim's word against the alleged perpetrator. Each of these victims will no doubt be publicly attacked by the alleged perpetrators, and in some cases, the general public. The feckless and cowardly keyboard warriors love to attack. We know what we're up against. We did not enter this fray blindly. I wish it was my last such fray. I wish this type of behavior wasn't so pervasive, but it is what it is, so we will press on. As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females.
Oh,
There are 60 males and 60 females
oh,
who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. And I want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024.
25
If you wonder
minors?
why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now,
You guys haven't
think
even
about the
heard
fact that
the worst.
some of this conduct occurred 25
You
years ago.
haven't heard the worst.
And you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward? I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York, as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that it revives such claims, and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult for a victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one. And I expect more victims will come forward. You know, there's an old saying, it says, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami. Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star, or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know. Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with.
Many businesses, so many names.
You should know that more than 55% of the victims
a lot of people going to get in a lot of heat behind this right here.
This conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants, medical records,
medical and hospital records as well.
Reports that were made to the authorities.
Courts.
And I've already said that some of the
not just he say, she say, not just people coming forward after the indictment.
You should know that
medical
that
reports and police reports as well.
When I say several, I mean many who did in fact seek medical treatment, were drug tested, and drugs were found in their system. Weird drugs.
Drug tested and everything.
Drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine, or trank, which based on our research is known as a horse tranquilizer.
What the fuck?
Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class action is when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this. These cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit. These cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case.
Why does that seem even worse to me?
Each case may be filed in one venue like California. Another case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people.
Y'all are going to hear so many names come out of this 120 plus people.
In New York.
So many names.
In Los Angeles.
So many of his friends.
Many of you came here.
Helpers,
thinking
neighbors,
or hoping, or perhaps,
businesses.
Believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly, but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused, or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave, and then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases, and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days.
Oh,
now, it's
you
rare.
got 30 days.
You know, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, these
all
types
you
of,
others.
This type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we can, as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and some of the, so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually. I want to bring forward Carrie Paul. She's a national victim advocate who helps victims who have been victimized by this type of conduct. And she has some important words, and I hope you'll pay close attention. I think it's important that you hear from her.
Now, I believe he comes back up again.
Hello.
And delivers even
Paul,
some more
the National Victim
triggering.
Advocate.
Boy.
It's not easy for any survivor to come forward. Our culture doesn't believe survivors. It blames and questions them. Instead of showing support, many choose to enable abusers. The media runs stories asking why it took so long for survivors to come forward instead of asking what barriers exist. We also don't equip law enforcement with the ability to handle sexual assault crimes. Lack of funding translates to lack of training. We have officers in the field that don't know what to say to a rape victim, and also an alarming amount of backlogged, untested rape kits. Prosecutors are focused on what they can prove in a case, and if so, how to do that at time of trial. Advocates and staff are stretched thin with growing caseloads in the criminal justice system. Most people don't know how the criminal justice works in general. There isn't enough staff or resources to adequately explain the entire process to every victim and survivor. Our culture works against victims and survivors every day, and abusers know this. Abusers work themselves into positions of power, building a public image that is trusted and financially large enough to make people look away. Abusers are unfortunately very skilled at power and control, the foundation of abuse. They seek victims who are vulnerable, such as children, their employees, and their intimate partners, all who see a different version than the public does, all who rely on the abuser in some way. And for those that do come forward and aren't believed, face questions like, are you sure it happened that way? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? All of this creates an environment that enables abusers to continue abusing them and future victims. To the survivors that have come forward despite not being believed at some point in time, your courage is like nothing we have seen before. We thank you for coming forward for yourself and all survivors. And lastly, I want all survivors that are watching this to know we believe you and we support you. Thank you.
I want you now to hear from my co-counsel, Andrew Van Arsdale. We've created a sexual abuse hotline, and I want him to visit with us just a few moments about how that works and the kind of volume of calls we've received.
Thank you, Tony. Like Tony said, my name is Andrew Van Arsdale. I'm the managing partner of ABA Law Group. We have offices in California, Montana, and North Carolina. To build off of what you just so well said, it's very hard to come forward. And given what we've experienced the past 10 days is really unprecedented in my career, at least. We represent thousands of survivors of abuse, and never, ever in a 10-day period have we seen over 3,000 people come forward, where we've confirmed and decided to investigate and represent 120 people, while we're continuing to work through another 100+ cases to prove them up, to validate what had happened here, and to hold those that are responsible accountable. And so, like Tony said, we've set this up. 1-800-200-7474. I have a team of people standing by, literally. If you know that this happened to someone and you have information about it, please contact us. If this happened to you, come forward. There's attorney-client privilege here. What you tell us is in confidence. Yes, we'll have to go out and build your case, but we will protect you. And the other thing that I want to say is the pattern and practice of this, again, is unprecedented. Over 30+ years of the same sort of events happening, people thrust into the circle reportedly and horrible things happening to them as a result. And from talking to these people that have come forward these past 10 days, I can tell you unequivocally that because the federal government did what it needed to do and indicted this man, that they put him in jail and a judge kept him in jail, they tell me directly, this validates my feelings. For so long, I thought it was my fault. What is it about me that put myself in that scenario? What was I wearing at the time? What did I do to be subjected to such horrific treatment at these people that I was trying to trust?
A lot of those calls probably
But
would
we
not
know
have
now
come in if he would
it
have
was
made
not
bail.
your fault.
He would
You
be
were
scared, man.
victimized by a group of
Be scared
powerful
of
people
retaliation.
that operated
And somebody like Diddy,
for
a very,
30
very powerful
plus
person.
years, taking advantage of their wealth and the power that they held within the music industry. So again, thank you to every single person that has come forward and contacted our office over the past 10 days. If you or someone you know suffered the same sort of treatment, please contact us at the number behind me and we will help you. Thank you.
I think it speaks to how important this issue is in the United States and frankly, internationally, that we have reputable people here that want to provide kind of information that I think victims need to hear, witnesses need to hear, the public needs to hear. Let me introduce to you now Olivia Rivers from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and let her visit with you a few moments about these types of cases.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Q Olivia Rivers. I am just served my 6th year as the board chair for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I'm also the CEO for the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a local rape crisis center here in the Houston area. So thank you for being here as we address these heinous crimes. Sexual assault is not just a crime of violence against the body. It's an assault on the very essence of human dignity and safety. It shatters lives, it destroys confidence, and all too often, it leaves survivors feeling like they are voiceless, isolated, and vulnerable. The reality for many survivors is that coming forward to report their assault is one of the most difficult and daunting tasks that they will ever have to do. And for some, it may take days, months, or even years to speak up, if they ever do. The reasons for this have been mentioned, but include the fear of being disbelieved, being blamed or judged, and of course, retaliation. The trauma of the assault itself being compounded by the trauma of the criminal justice process, where survivors must relive their experience in order to seek justice. And these feelings and fears are further exacerbated when the allegations are against prominent figures in the entertainment industry or Hollywood. Cases involving powerful figures often attract significant media attention, which can deter victims from coming forward due to fear of public exposure or scrutiny. The intense focus on these high-profile cases can make survivors feel that their personal lives are being put under a microscope, causing further emotional distress. These allegations mentioned here today, as reported, reflect deeply troubling claims that deserve thorough investigation, and no individual, regardless of their stature, is above the law or public accountability. Sadly, the statistics paint a very disturbing picture. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. In the US alone, there are approximately 463,000 victims of rape or sexual assault every year, and these numbers barely scratch the surface, as sexual violence remains one of the most underreported crimes. But the numbers that follow tell an even more troubling story. Only about 23% of sexual assaults are reported to law enforcement.
Damn.
Of those, just 5% lead to an arrest, and even fewer, less than 1% of reported cases ever result in a conviction, which is a devastating gap between the crime and the justice that survivors deserve. I want to briefly focus on our state here in Texas. According to the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, 6.3 million Texans, men and women, will experience some form of violence. That's every 2 minutes, someone is sexually assaulted, meaning during the course of this press conference, around 60 individuals will forever be changed by this violence. And those are just a few of the victims. Obviously, this is unacceptable. We cannot allow this cycle of silence and inaction to continue. We have to create an environment where survivors feel empowered to come forward, where they are met with empathy and respect and support, not skepticism and blame. We have to ensure that our legal system is equipped to handle these cases with the seriousness they deserve, and that survivors have access to the resources that they need beyond the legal courtroom. We have to address the root causes of this epidemic: prevention, awareness, and fostering environments where respect, consent, and safety are non-negotiable values. Additionally, support for survivors has to be holistic. They have to have access to counseling, medical services, legal advocacy, and of course, community support, regardless of whether they choose to report or not. To every survivor who has come forward, your bravery is an inspiration. To those who are still grappling with their decision, know that you are not alone and that your voice matters. Your story matters. We see you, we believe you, and we are committed to fighting for a future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated and where justice is not the exception, but the standard. Thank you.
I want to visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you. And now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, individual, this time not a minor, was attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him. He says allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential. With that, I'll take a few questions, not many, maybe two, but if you have a question, I'll be pleased to try to answer it. Perfect.
How many minors are making accusations in total, and are the feds aware of the allegations of minors in the case?
I don't know what the feds are aware of, okay, but I do know it's 25 out of this 120.
And Tony,
But I will say this to that point. We welcome the FBI or any authority who wants to come to us, and we're going to make that available to these victims because I think that's important. My suspicion is, based on talking with these folks, is that the FBI is just not aware of these people. The FBI has talked to some of these folks, and I'm going to try to encourage the victims to, in fact, talk to the FBI because I think they have some very important things to say.
Tony, were all of the children auditioning because they were musicians, or were any of them kids of employees or anything like that?
All seeking either TV or some sort of music career with promises of, we're going to make you a star. Instead, basically did things to them such that they don't want to have anything to do with the entertainment industry ever again. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. We're going to go now. Thank you.
Tony, do you anticipate any Houston cases?
Any filed here?
Locally, yeah.
There's a few plaintiffs here, but I don't anticipate filing them here. Probably in New York City. Confused.
Watching that shit it makes it very, very hard to say those words, those innocent until proven guilty. I don't know if I'm ready to look at anybody that says that in Diddy's direction a certain way, if not crazy. I'm at that point now. Don't don't say that about Diddy. Yo. Of 120, 25 of them were minors. Men, women, boys, girls, under 10. One was 9. Teenagers in their 20s. All around these different states, aspiring artists. New Year's, July 4th, White Party, Freak Off, Halloween. And the MO was the drinks. And it said admission to the party is have the drink. No drink, get out. Horse tranquilizer. He's saying it's not just accusations, saying that there's literal police reports and medical reports behind some of these victims that were even drug tested and found cocaine and horse tranquilizer. I did hear the street name Trank before, so assuming that's the same thing, horse tranquilizer. I don't feel like Googling it right now. I'm just going to take a guess, chat. Horse tranquilizer? To hear about some of these underage alleged victims that woke up with their private parts, both holes in certain situations that he explained, abused and torn and whatnot, and it's hard for me to even speak the words right now. Is that where like horse tranquilizer comes in? Is it like, because I know the word tranquilizer, right? We know what the word tranquilizer is, right? Is it a drug to keep people like still or some shit? Chat. Anybody in here on some old innocent until proven guilty? Anybody in here still saying that about dude? Chat is helping me out. I see yes. I see knocks you out, no memory, no feeling. It's horse tranquilizer, huh? Rumor that one supposed did it because he sued them. Horse tranquilizer. Hey, Sphinx. Sphinx topic. I want to text him right now. I don't want to say his name on a stream. That's my guy. I just think that he got to stop saying that shit. No more saying innocent, innocent until proven guilty for Diddy. You see this press conf? That's the nicest sound that I know. While I was typing. Y'all know me. I'm normally not short for words. I don't have a problem getting up here and talking with y'all for an hour, 2 hours straight. But that press con, you know what's crazy? It's like the man's already sitting in jail right now. The federal indictment already came down. I guess this press conference just hits different because the indictment that was unsealed and that we all read, we saw sex trafficking, we saw racketeering, and I think arson. And it's bad. And we also saw the Cassie video. It's already bad when it's like adult. It's just a different level to hear the 25 minors, to hear this lawyer get up there and give details of like how they're doing it. And yeah, this time it happened in the studio. This 9-year-old girl, not boy or whatever, was interested in trying to get a record deal or some type of deal. This person over here woke up with their private parts. This person over here went to the doctor and horse tranquilizer was found in their blood. It just hit different. I said streams ago, I said, I think he's a piece of shit. Like, I feel even worse now. I feel worse. I feel nasty. I feel like dirty. I feel y'all don't feel like a little sick. Y'all don't feel like a little sick behind that press conference. I'm looking at the chat now. Thanks for asking me the question. ARP, do you agree that 9-year-old parents is foul also? So I do believe that there are situations where you know, kids were put in bad positions purposefully, not necessarily knowing what was going to happen. Like there was a lot of that around the R. Kelly case. Like, what do you mean? Like the two parents, like it was like a known piece of it. Like I forget their names, but they took their daughter like backstage and like gave her to R. Kelly, and it was just like, yo, y'all go do what y'all need to do. I want to hope that they wasn't assuming that level of stuff, but you know, that's where it came in. Like the R. Kelly defenders, they was like, yo, nobody's sitting there chained up in the basement. I remember the parents that was like they were looking for their daughter and they couldn't find them. It was like, yeah, but the daughter, did that video and was just like trying to tell people that she's okay and she's not being held against her will. But it felt awkward as if like R. Kelly was damn near standing behind the camera. Remember that shit? So there are some fucked up parents that are looking for opportunity and fame. I mean, let's open up our minds, people. You got mothers that have tried to sell their children before. You know what I'm saying? You got mothers, some are on drugs, but sometimes it's not even a drug thing. Threw their babies in the trash. See stories, babies found on people's porches, found in people's yards, found in people's garages, abandoned. I saw that in the news the other day. Some girl that went on some vacation just left the baby at home by itself, just while she could go. You know what I'm saying? So there's some disgusting ass parents in this world. Not everybody is fit to be a parent, B. There's some disgusting ass parents out there. So how does a 9-year-old end up spending the night with Diddy? I don't even want to try to open up that story right now because I just feel sick behind these allegations. But you heard my intro to this, to your question, right? There's some fucked up parents out there, so let's move a little bit to the legal side, I guess, right? I'm so stuck on the moral side of listening to that press conference. So I'm just disgusted. I know we've been covering this Diddy stuff and we've been trying to look at it from all angles, the moral side, the legal side. We did a stream talking about his lawyer, how sharp his lawyer was, peeping some of the angles and the chess pieces that he was moving around. We still are gonna go about all the different storylines and topics around this Diddy case. But if I want to get out of my moral funk right now and get back to like some legal type of questions, like what does the lawyer play behind this? The lawyer likes to run his mouth, huh? The lawyer had no problem getting up there and saying, I don't know if it's 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I don't you ever sit in the parking lot of Costco and see what people come out of the Costco with? Yeah, I'm telling you, it's worse than baby oil. The fuck you gonna say about this? You're gonna shut your ass up now, ain't you? What you gonna say about 120 alleged victims coming forward with this lawyer sitting here that's representing all of them individually, not a class action lawsuit? They're gonna be filed individually behind their detective investigators cosign and follow-up of validating what's corroborated, what's aligning, who has proof behind them. And these things are going to be getting filed individually. They're all a lie. They're all money seeking. None of those minors of the 25, they're all a lie. All of them, all 25 is a lie. Do you know any of these 120 people? Did you spend the night with any of these 120 people? Did you sleep with any of these 120 people? Did you drug any of these 120 people? Did any of them get hurt in your presence, drugged in your presence? And you see how adamant he was about all the other people? I saw comments in the chat talking about, he's pump faking. I think it's half and half, to be real with you. I think it's half like, oh no, we got some allegations and we got an investigator that followed up on some of this and corroborated some of these stories. Oh no, we got some play here. We got some play here. And then some of it is also like, we heard about this, we think about this name might have been mentioned, we don't really got nothing or whatever. I'm gonna put it out there as a threat. You know what I mean? It's like you give a little bit of rope, but whether you think he's pump faking or not, if you was ever in any of them rooms, any orgies, minor, anything sexual happened with a teen or something like that, and you was in one of them rooms or whatever, you got to be scared. Those are the type of people that'll see this shit and come forward and be like, look, man, I do remember being in a room with somebody that looked like they was a teenager. I just want to let you know, I was drugged also. Now they coming forward to try to get themselves off the hook, but then they begin corroborating what's already being submitted as well in doing so. So I don't know. I mean, once again, these are accusations and they're not filed yet, and the names haven't come. This guy's threatening to expose the businesses where these instances or these alleged situations have taken place. He's threatening to start call. He said, I know some of these people, and y'all are gonna be shocked at some of these people. So what does that allude to? Public figures, celebrities, known individuals, right? So he said, like 30 days, I'm gonna start putting these names out. When the suits get filed, those other people that are culpable or possibly going to be a part of those suits, that's when the names become public. That's when those names become public. Like, is this I mean, we thought it was massive, but like, just imagine tainting 50 high power musicians that we all love. Just 50. That's huge. Like all the endorsements, all the sponsorships, all the fan retreat, all of the image damage, because not everybody's going to go to jail behind their names getting brought into this stuff. But the effect of it, damn. 120? 120. You know how many people's going to get caught up in that? You know how many stories, whether fabricated or not, you know how many stories come out of 120 people? And they got you see up there on the screen, they still got the number right there. They're like, my mind is blown from the 120. And keep in mind, they got to 120 from 3,000 plus. 3,000 plus calls and they scrubbed that down to 120. And he said, keep in mind, people, when y'all hear these numbers and you think that's a lot, blah, 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 it's 25 years plus. Makes sense, considering this party animal lunatic guy that is being described allegedly as Diddy these days. That's another thing that is just like, it doesn't shock me, but it's like another reminder to just watch somebody over the years and not see that side of them. I mean, we're just people buying albums, watching music videos and shit like that. But that whole other side of somebody that can allegedly be sitting there passing around a 9-year-old, like, what type of hat are you wearing to hide your fucking horns? I can't even repeat that. That's decades of crimes. Yeah, I see it. Shout out to SJS, says this case might be the one to make some type of change in the industry. We've been hearing this stuff for decades. Protect the kids and looking to their parents. I have a 9-year-old. Diddy would have, listen, I think any parent, hopefully, in this chat feels the same. Any parent in this chat, exactly the same, and then some. We talk about the change of the industry. Something that could have this many legs could be like damn near a collapse. No? Hip hop within itself is one of the biggest commodities. Super Bowl halftime performance, hip hop. Commercials, these big companies want endorsements. Who do you go to? People of our culture, hip hop figures. Imagine hip hop getting to a point where people feel like they can't use it to represent their products. They can't play it in their commercials. They can't have it on their shows. They couldn't put it in there on their websites. And imagine that. Because the clean cut looking guy Diddy is out here, got everybody getting pulled into exposing this freakish, devilish, disgusting ass behind the scenes nature of what y'all got going on. With minors included, and horse tranquilizer. And content of interest TV. Appreciate the super homie says ARP. Is there any evidence to him messing with minors or just believing what you hear? Evidence will be, I assume, presented in some of these 120 filings, right? They did say that there's medical records and as well as police records that were filed along with some of these cases. This guy can't come out here and join in on one of the biggest cases ever, the Diddy case, one of the highest profile things going on for years to come, possibly. And you're also going up against Diddy's team, right? And something like this, me personally, and I'm not even a lawyer, he may be protected by certain laws that I don't know about. I don't play with this type of stuff unless I have something solid to go with. There's also the accusers. What about defamation of character? What about false accusations and claims and whatnot and countersuits? I'm not playing with none of this stuff and getting close to none of this stuff unless I have a couple things that's valid. And maybe that's how they got all the way from 3,000 plus to 120. We got 3,000 plus calls. And after we've been going through all of this information and corroborating stories and meeting with people and speaking with people, and our investigator was co-signing and bringing stuff together and putting the puzzle and say, I believe this, I don't believe that. But 3,000 plus all the way to 120. And you also got to remember, not everything is about evidence, right? We like to see evidence, right? But hell, they didn't find the guns for young Dolph shooters, and their pure faces weren't on camera either. But y'all all think Justin and Cornelius are guilty, right? So this is just too much. It's too much, man. It's too much. It's just too much. We can't keep looking for a needle in a haystack. Diddy's the whole haystack, V. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as the minor things, you don't even need the minors. I mean, that's the part from this press conference that we just played that just hurts the most. So it's just like, damn, minors as well. But I'm not trying to turn a blind eye to all the adults that were fucked over too. You know what I'm saying? You know, just because you of legal age doesn't mean that you should get awed or drugged or abused. You know what I'm saying? Like, we still feel for Cassie when we saw that video, even though she was of age, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. When we start hearing about some of these suits and we see the 25 minor suits and we start hearing about this stuff and we see how the lawyer responds, let's see if any of these things get settled out of court as well. Like, any of that stuff is just gonna yo, I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. I'm gonna see if I'll be back in the morning, but 120, and be clear that number is going to continue to increase.